the next generation Mothership. In this video, I'll simply talk you briefly through all of the modules I have here. So let's get started. Starting with the elephant in the room, the Moog DFAM is with its 60 HP the largest individual module and also the most expensive one here. These days I mostly use it as an audio source or mainly audio processor, given the fact that its sequencer runs pretty nicely up to the audio range. Next, MFB Nanozwerg Pro, the only typical synth voice in this setup. I've been underusing it for a long time and I'm pretty happy with it. Another MFB, the 522 hi-hat cymbal module based on 808 circuitry. This gives you the hi-hat and the cymbal. A A132 dual linear exponential VCA. Great small VCA module with 2 VCAs, you can never have enough of them. The qubits cant is the most odd and most specialized oscillator in that system. It's a tricky one and I really enjoy playing with it. The IntelliGel Dixie 2 is the most powerful analog oscillator I have here. Also very let's say practical in its use, gives you a lot of waveforms, modulation options. Next, the 2HP mix. It's a 4-in-1 mixer, and like all my mixers also is DC coupled. Next, the A111-3 micro precision VCO by Döpfer. It's a LFO VCO combo which goes over about 30 octaves and tracks perfectly over 10 octaves, gives you all the waveforms with the exception of a sine, has frequency modulation, pitch modulation and sync inputs, so really an analog oscillator workhorse. I have 3 of them here, so I might consider getting rid of one of them. Next is the A110-4 quadrature through 0 VCO. This does sine waves, but it does them very nicely. So yeah, with my love for sine waves and FM with analog oscillators, maybe don't need the third one I still have, but I need both of them. The A196 PLL, it's a fun thing. Yeah, enough said. A182, it's a combi of a noise source where you can change the noise color and the sample and hold trigger and hold module. With the exception of shaping the noise color, I can do all of that with other modules. This is really a candidate that could at one point go. The Make Noise Mimeophone, it's a funny delay, looping delay, Cobbler Strong synthesizer, which I enjoy a lot. Next, the 4MS Ensemble is a kind of a cross between an additive synth chord generating oscillator with lots of wave shaping options. Next, the Kitty Eyes by Snazzy FX. Wonderful non-linear oscillator. It works best with oscillators that also take an audio input because it also takes an audio input, and all the better if they take some kind of trigger input, so that in combo with Scant is just mad. 2HP VCA, simple 2 VCAs. Then the Leipzig Works WK2, it's 2 attenuators, one of them with offset and slew rate limiter and can also be used as a 2-channel polarizing mixer. The A132 dual ADSR allows for modulating the timings, great envelope, positive and negative outputs. I have more of those. A166 expander VCF, very flexible and nice sounding filter. Yeah. Enough said, it's Oberheim expander style. The 2HP switch, it's a 4-in-1 voltage controlled switch, which switches very well up into audio rates. Yeah, great thing. I'm actually thinking about expanding my automated switching capabilities. Then a 182.2 quad switch, it's just a manual set of 4 2-in-1 or 1 and 2 switches. Very nice to reconfigure your setup by the flick of a switch. A124 wasp filter, a great dirty kind of filter. Next, the A18 VCF8. This is the best sounding filter in the world. It also has 8 stages. This thing, the Swiss Army knife. Erika Pico VCF1. It's a Polyvox inspired filter, which sounds very nice as a kind of acidy filter. Syntrotech Dirt, marketed as a filter, it's more of a kind of a wave shaper multiplier. Syntrotech LPG, a fantastic LPG which also doubles as a VCA, and you can also control resonance, sadly only with a CV, not with a knob. Wonderful module. The Future Sound Systems TG Crystallizer, it's a very peculiar bandpass filter which can be insanely driven. It's a very special thing. Erika Pico CV Mix, 3-into-1 mixer, 3 HP width. I only have that to make up for the 3 HP of the VCF1 module. Then the Clavis Twin Waves Mark II. This is a really powerful double digital oscillator, does all kinds of wave forms and modulation options, also really a digital workhorse. A136 distortion module by Döpfer, and this is more, I consider this more a wave shaper, wave folder than a highly configurable one. You really need to learn that thing, but once you've learned it, really powerful. The Tip Top Fold, it's a distortion / wave folder with added sub-octave generator, which also allows for some really unpredictable non-linear behavior. Next, the A188-1 BBD module offers a lot of modulation and patching options. You can do loads of funny stuff with that. Then the Create Audio chips, it's 2 digital VCOs and an LFO. Very much bread and butter. That is something I can really see myself parting with. Döpfer A183-9 USB output gives you 4 USB power outputs. Great utility module. A138S, it's a 4-into-2 stereo mixer for all my stereo mixing inside this setup. That's the thing I use. Dreadbox Reflector, modulated BBD, not very flexible but nice sounding. Döpfer A199 Spring Reverb, it's a spring reverb, it sounds great, wonderful thing. Then the ALM Buzzy Circuits Pip Slope, it's a very specific AD envelope. It also allows different kinds of repeated triggers and CV modulation. Next, the IntelliGel Unity Mixer. It's 2 3-in-1 Unity mixers. Great not only for audio but also for CV duties to combine pitch CV or whatever. Then the Klep Diaz. It's a kind of stepped ramp generator, LFO, clocked LFO. Also somewhat specialized. Also something I could see myself working without, but then it's also very practical. Erika Pico BBD. It's a BBD, it's a quite noisy one and has no kind of clock filtering, but yeah, everybody loves BBDs. Erika Pico Logic allows you 2 channels of either standard Boolean logic or clock division. Also one of those modules with that stupid 3 HP width. It can do all of the things it does and more with other modules, so if it weren't to fill that stupid 3 HP width from the BBD, I could see myself do without that. The A132 Dual VC Polarizer, it's a 2 4-quadrant multiplier, small, affordable, great module. Then the EARS, which is a microphonie implementation. It's a surface microphone. You can also connect an external microphone and it sends out a signal or a gate or a trigger from it. Great utility module. Tip-top C5000 effects processor. It's sometimes something like a trimmed-down version of their large DSP effects processor. The unique selling proposition is that it is clocked with an analog clock, which you can change the rate of and achieve very ugly digital artifacts. Kinks, it's a great collection of utility modules. It has a sample and hold and noise source and some logic max min functions and different rectifiers. Great. Tip-top Miso. It's a combination of attenuators with added offset, with mixers and a CV controlled crossfader, so something like a larger version of the Leipzig WK2. 2 HP LFO, 2 LFO outputs, same rate, different waveforms. Then the Döpfer A149, it's an implementation of the Buchla source of uncertainty. Very practical, but takes up a lot of space. Next, we're in the folk tech corner. You see the mantle here. There's the fitting sequencer called Motion just below, which is a kind of really ugly circuit bending style signal source. Create Audio Cells. It's a kind of a simple Cartesian sequencer, which you can also play with your fingers, and for that reason it's here. Squarp Hermit, really powerful sequencer from its approach, more like a, let's say, DAW/tape oriented sequencer than a pattern sequencer. So this has always been and will be the center of my setup, also because it connects to everything: computer, MIDI over USB. Then Pamela's new workout. This has really become the center of my setup. Marketed as a clock source, it can do so much more, like looping randomly generated signals, Euclidean triggers, envelopes, LFOs, you name it. René Mark II, pretty nice pattern sequencer. It has its shortcomings, but it's still great. Qubit Bloom, this is a really odd kind of sequencer. It's like let's say Olivier Messiaen in a module. For some, let's say, kind of evolving serial music, that's your choice. Then we have the Döpfer A143-2 Quad ADSR. 4 ADSR envelopes with a very wide range. You also get end of attack, end of cycle, end of release kind of output, so it allows for a lot of self-patching. I already played an entire performance with that as the only control module. It's a really fun thing to play. And finally, the Folktech Motion. It's an 8-step CV and 8-step trigger sequencer. Its reason for being here is to control mantle, because otherwise mantle doesn't really work that well. Going through all of those things, I made up a list of modules I could do without. So I could really do without one of those micro precision VCOs. Same goes for the crystallizer, the noise module by Döpfer, chips, maybe one of the total of 3 of A142 dual ADSRs. Same goes for the source of uncertainty. It's kind of very specific. And also the reflector, if I find something to take its place and do even more. Finally, get rid of the Pico Logic and the Pico CV mixer and bring in another 2 HP mix. I have 2 spare ones lying around. And finally, I could also think working without the components of masculine and even the DFAM. So really 222 HP are for this position here.